Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another part of our three-part series where we're going through and discussing each of our individual musical taste and picking 4 songs that represent our musical taste. That was what we decided to say when we decided to do these, and then each of us was able to take that and interpret it however we wanted. And we've already filmed my section of this where I showed my 4 songs and we discussed and talked about my feelings, and I was trying to do lots of justifications as to why I like things. And so this video, we are going to let Chris Schoenberg show us his musical taste, the songs he chose, and we'll get to learn a lot about him and his musical, what he likes throughout this.
Maybe.
So we'll see.
We'll see. So what I did, and right, it took a minute, and like I would encourage all of you people at home to think about that sort of thing. If you had to pick 4 songs,
yeah,
and then and we purposely did that like to describe your musical taste. And that was basically all we said. 4 songs, describe your musical taste, and then we didn't talk about it on purpose more than that, so you could interpret it.
We intentionally kept what we were thinking a mystery, or how we wanted to approach it, nebulous, so that we could just do these videos and have it be however it ended up being. So,
and at first, which is probably the experience that most people had, it sounds like that's the experience that Patrick had at least, and probably Chris Parker too, that it was a little bit hard. And it's like, oh, well, there's all these songs and stuff. So what I did, I gave myself a couple boundaries.
Okay. The
first boundary that I gave, and this is probably because I'm defensive about being old, is that I purposely did not want to choose anything that, like, I did not want to choose things that were like the formation of my musical taste, because that would have been a completely different thing, and some of that would have been pretty cringe.
That's an interesting way to think about it, though. I didn't even think of that.
Oh, really? That was the first thing I had to work to get that out of my head, because if I would have chosen that, that would have been a completely different thing. That would have been the most cringy one. Probably would have been MXPX Punk Rock Show, and then the first track off Far Beyond Driven, which is Strength Beyond Strength. And maybe really Master of Puppets, which would have been kind of weird.
Yeah, that's when
it would have been Battery off of Master of Puppets, and then I don't know what the fourth one would have been. I didn't think about that too much.
It is interesting when I
never even considered that angle. Yeah,
when I first think about when I first met you, I definitely think that you were like punk music is what I would have associated with you at that time.
Yeah, and I would have picked a Rancid song.
But you were in a punk band at the time, which is still a phenomenal sounding album.
I'm not going to tell you what we are or not going to listen to, but we are going to talk about punk music to some degree.
I'm so excited. But yeah.
So what I chose, one of the limitations that I gave myself is I wanted this to all be stuff that one song I think came out. I don't have written notes. I've thought about this. Patrick had written notes. Of course he did. I have to go look up this song. That I'm sure that this is the earliest one that came out, and this was in 2017. So I don't have any songs older than 2017. I all wanted new ones, newish ones, because I do pride myself when we talked about, was it on video, where we talked about, I said that listening to music, I do kind of look at it like a chore sometimes.
Yes, yeah, that was
and like not in a bad way. But like I know that I need to listen to so much stuff for various reasons, partially just because I get the enjoyment out of listening to a bunch of stuff, and that's how you form opinions, and that's fun to talk to your friends about. So I didn't want to pick anything old. I wanted to pick newer stuff that that has had an impact on me. And I guess we were also talking about records that you go back to, and these ones. The one newest one that just came out towards the end of last year, I've gone back to a bunch, but yeah, these are not my favorite songs. They are not necessarily my favorite bands, but I am not as much into superlatives as you and Chris Parker are. I don't think I have a favorite band. I don't even want to try to go down. I used to think that was fun, but then I noticed that my list changed every 6 months, and I'm not interested in doing that anymore.
And that's totally valid, 100%.
If I had to pick something like the Desert Island thing, I think that I would pick something that is very long and unbelievably complex so I can listen to it a lot. I think if I had to pick 5 albums, the Desert Island
Stay tuned
things,
for my selections for that.
Okay. And like, but I tried to subdivide this a little bit. I will tell you one thing. We got to pick 4 songs.
Yep.
Got to. That's what we did.
Only what we're allowed to.
We're only allowed to pick 4 songs, which is good because this could have been way more and way weirder. And the videos are going to be plenty long as they are. 2 of my songs are metal songs. And I thought that was important because I like lots of different kinds of metal, but this shows 2 that have been tickling me a lot, especially in the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
One of them that's been tickling me for my entire journey with metal, but the other one, especially lately, I've been quite into. I do not care. I am going to let Patrick randomly pick what songs. I do not care what order these get played in.
I like it.
I don't think that I want to say. Do you guys have any questions?
Well, I will say.
Do you have any predictions about what bands are going to be in here?
I will say one. Yes, I think possibly one of the metal ones could be Skeleton Witch, only because
Skeleton Witch has not, as far as I remember, Skeleton Witch has not turned out any albums that I would consider
from the last
valid since 2017.
Okay. Well, that's one band I know you have mentioned to me multiple times.
I love Skeleton Witch so much. And that the last real Skeleton Witch album came out in 2013.
Okay.
And that was Serpents Unleashed, and all those. I can't even look at the artwork. I love all the Skeleton Witch records so much. Skeleton Witch is probably my favorite modern metal band.
But you don't like their recent stuff, huh?
There's only one. They're done now, as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
And they put out one album with a different singer, and I was upset about that. My the fanboy inside of me was mad about that, because I actually like their singer. I really like metal music. I know some singers are good, but there's not really very many I loved, and I loved Chance so much. The thought of replacing him, even though why was probably a valid reason, I did not like it, and it made the 4-year-old inside of me very mad.
Okay.
I went to a Skeleton Witch show after, when he wasn't there. He was supposed to be, and whatever happened. And so he was no longer with the band. So they just played an instrumental set.
Oh, interesting.
And I am a little bit mad that I did not try out, because as I recall, they had just like open internet auditions, and I should have did it at least just to say that I did. I wouldn't have got it, but and I would have felt bad anyway if I did, because there would have been 10,000 or 100,000 guys like me. They're like, this isn't,
So that was one band I thought of, just because we've talked about them, but I didn't know.
That was a great guess, and I thought about it, and I was thinking about Burn From Bone. Burn From Bone would have been the song that I would have picked from Skeleton Witch.
So that was one thing. The other thing that I thought of, which if you're starting the series with this video, you might want to go back and watch mine first, but we got a little, it was an intense video, which is great. And we'll see how intense this gets. But I feel like we're all a little chilled out now. But one of the things I said in that video, which is kind of a mean thing, was that I was wondering how far you would approach this in terms of subverting my expectations.
I did the exact opposite of that. And in fact, I think all of the artists are replaceable. Definitely all the songs are. I could have chosen other ones from the bands that I picked. And I chose ones, and I customized this for this channel.
Okay, that's it. Well, first of all, I'm
to the degree that I can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that however there's no wrong way to have approached this, but it's funny because I would just think that if some random person came up to you on the street and was like, give me 4 songs right now, you would just say 4 metal songs. And so my initial instinct was, are we going to hear much variety within what you like? No, hold on. Let me finish first.
Yeah.
Because I know you well enough to know that you do listen to a pretty wide variety of things. However, my impression is generally that, as you stated earlier in our other video, listening to music sometimes is work for you. And my general impression is that you enjoy metal and all other genres of music. It is difficult for you to be as invested as you are with metal. And I don't say that in a negative way, because you are in a metal band that is badass and cool. And I have recorded metal albums with you. You wear a metal t-shirt everywhere you go. You embody the metal lifestyle. You have long hair, which you headbang with at shows while playing guitar and singing lead vocals in a metal band. People don't get more metal than you unless you had a mohawk. Within reason, because you're also a very intelligent person.
I'm on one end of the spectrum for sure.
Yes.
Boy, that's
multiple spectrums.
But you're
starting
also
to say things about metal people now.
But there's so many really cool things about you that are not exactly metal, and that's kind of how we are friends.
I could have been weirder, and you know what I didn't pick, and anyway, maybe I'll bring that up later.
But so anyway, just to finish my thoughts on what I thought this could have been.
Yes.
I thought that you would overthink me overthinking it and do something stupid to like intentionally be stupid. But then I was like, no, he won't do that because you would do this, you would approach it seriously.
So, after I got over the first couple stupid things I had to think about, I started thinking about like all the bands that I like. And I'm like, well, I can't obviously do all of those, and I don't want to overrepresent anything but metal. And I probably overrepresented that a little bit. But I have reasons for what I did. But so what I did is I thought about, and I really went in and I thought about, why do I like these bands? And I'm going to do some things that will probably upset some people, drawing comparisons of like, I picked this song by this artist because it scratches the same itch for me as this completely different artist. Like, and I'm going to talk about that.
No, that's awesome. We can get into that because that's fascinating.
Because I really started thinking about why, and this reminds me of one of my points that I would have forgotten about, why I like the stuff that I like.
Sure.
And so, I have a few things now, and I have never really thought about this deeply. There are a couple of things that were pretty obvious to me, like riff-based guitar music.
Sure.
Like that's something I'm very, very into. But some of the other stuff, I'm like, why do I like this band so much? And I'll talk about that band, although I did not pick a song by that band.
Totally valid, though.
Yeah, these aren't really my favorite bands. They're ones that I like. One of them is probably pretty close to becoming one of my favorites, and they're definitely not my favorite songs. All of the songs, like I said, I could have picked different ones, even if I picked these same 4 artists, and I had to search through that a little bit because there was like, I wanted to pick ones that had like certain effects, not audio effects, but like certain things that they did in them, and there was some that I just like didn't want to have an argument about lyrical content on the channel, so I'm like, I guess I won't do that one, even though I do like that song.
For the record, I did not tell you guys that you couldn't pick anything. If you would have picked, you could have picked literally anything, and I would have done however much work it took to do it. So that wouldn't.
I'm sure there are swear. I know those songs that you'd probably least expect swear words.
I mean, I have to edit my Mook song because they said there was some 2 F words and a zombie biatch. Wait,
there's English in that?
There's a little line of English where he's saying "F you effers" something zombie biatch.
All of my songs do have lyrics. All of them are in English, which the English thing isn't weird for me.
Same.
But I didn't pick any instrumental ones. I did almost think about picking some jazz or classical stuff, but like I probably listened on it like time base in the last 4, 5, 10 years. I probably listened to classical music more. like not intentional, like not like sitting there concentrating, although sometimes I do, but I didn't like, I don't have, I'm better at it than I thought I was. I know, but, I don't like have as much of attachment to that sort of thing. So I didn't pick that, and I didn't really pick any super dancey songs, and I didn't pick any rap songs. So if I could have picked 10, there would have probably been a jazz or classical thing, and there would have probably been a rap song, and there probably would have been some more dancey songs.
Keeping that.
Same for me.
Limited
Like
to 4 was rough.
Yeah, if we would have had more options, definitely there would have been a wider variety of stuff for me, because I mean that's kind of what I'm all about, is just like listening to everything. But the idea of having the 4, I think, was what really made this interesting in certain ways. Obviously, if we would have each been basically like make a whole little album of 10 songs you like or whatever, we would have had it would have be a very different video. But
I'm a little nervous, like not in like a bad way, but I didn't think I was going to be at all. And I am just a little tiny bit.
I'm just excited to hear, I'm assuming, do you...
It's performance anxiety, because I don't know if I'm going to remember all this stuff because I didn't take any notes.
Do you think, have I heard any of this?
You have heard, I think, at least 2 of the artists, if not 3. There's one I'm sure you haven't heard. I don't know that if you've heard any of the songs.
Okay, but maybe familiar with artists. Okay, that's cool.
One of the artists I know that you're familiar with.
Okay. Well, I'm excited for this. Chris Parker, what are your thoughts on?
Well, I'm not going to guess, because he didn't remove the ID3 info. So my thing told me what they all said.
On their WAV files.
Mine don't say anything.
I didn't even think about that. I went and bought all these legally. I didn't even know how to do that. I had to look up how to because one artist, I normally just buy WAV files, the few that I do a year, I buy them off Bandcamp, and one of these artists, and I stopped looking after one. Didn't have them, so I went to Q.
Don't do that. So you don't care. So I'm going to randomly choose 3.
Okay. So we're listening to whatever one is 3.
Okay. So I'm going to click on one of mine real quick just to bring up Winamp, and then I'll minimize it. And then when I click on yours, it'll just play it and won't.
Okay.
Don't have it. Okay. So Chris's track. Okay. So Chris Parker, you ready?
Yep.
So Chris's track 2, number 3 is what the actual file. Mm-hmm. All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Is that loud enough?
I think probably.
Here you can. Oh, I see what it is now, but
that's fine. You don't know what this is anyway.
I don't. You can.
Yeah, I don't work.
If you want. Oh,
shut up. Bring Streamlabs up.
So I picked a metal song first, I assume.
You did.
Unless some pop vocals come in.
You had a 50% chance.
I feel like it's getting louder.
It might be. The classic metal fade in.
Ooh.
It's that Silent Hill bass.
Yeah, there's like an industrial sound in the background, like.
Yeah, that's the bass.
The bass? Yeah. That's what metal bass is supposed to sound like.
I can't listen to someone sing like this and be serious. Like,
I was wondering if you were going to be able to handle
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Okay. So this is Overkill?
Yes.
Like I've heard of Overkill.
They've been around forever. And this album came out in like November.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to look up some stuff.
How long a forever?
I'll tell you that in a minute too.
You can really understand everything he's saying very easily.
Yes.
Bobby Blitz, the guy that's singing, is 64 years old.
Wow.
Metal.
Is that him doing the background vocal too?
I think it's all him.
See, I think I could listen to this.
I think you could too. That's sort of why I picked it.
Right, I think the guitars sound really nice, but very white noisy. Like the bell sound.
I knew you would like that too.
But that's also such an interesting guitar thing. Like there's multiple layers happening there, I think, right?
Oh yeah.
Like with that, or it's definitely some octave
And some
stuff.
vocal choral. Yeah.
Like the choir thing.
Oh,
Love the choir
absolutely.
thing.
Very epic feeling. I was expecting a blazing solo, which maybe we'll still get that, but yeah. Oh. All right.
There it is.
Doing the riff at the beginning of the thing, right? Like that was the main riff, the first couple notes he played. The main riff is what's underneath the solo, right? It's shifted up now, but so that was Twist the Wick by Overkill, and that just came out last year.
I liked that.
Same.
I'm gonna turn this down a little bit, and then we'll turn the computer up to max volume because it was a little harder to hear Chris Parker in there.
Listening to that made me wonder what is so hard about getting a metal mix right for so many other people.
I know.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I was thinking too. Because that was, for the most part, that was the core, like guitar, bass, drums, vocals. But man, did it sound just good.
That is everybody had so much room.
Maybe the biggest reason I picked this, because it just sounds so good. And and when you really get into the weeds and switch between like 4 metal songs that are all kind of like this, because that's what I do when when I'm mastering stuff, right? This went right into my reference track folder. And one of the things I've noticed specifically about this mix that improved my mixes is that it is so unbelievably percussive. And I'm going to get a little weird here.
Okay.
But I think that the converters or the headphone amp in Patrick's rig is different enough than in my stuff that I actually hear it a little there. And I am not the kind of guy to kind of say that. I'm like, whatever headphone amp and DA you got is fine. Who cares? Like,
Right.
But
I mean, there's got to be something.
There is something to that. But like how percussive that is. I mean, like the guitars are filling in the spots, but that kick and snare is like, it is so poppy and crisp and
yes.
and then
and even like the ride just is so clean. It's got all the room it needs.
Oh,
it's
yeah, there's
fantastic.
cymbals in that song too. Oh, you know what? So I actually for school I just to try to do what the kids do. I did like a pretty detailed mix analysis on this song, and I actually did have a really hard time picking out what cymbal was what. Like, I mean, obviously there's cymbals there, but like even listening to one chorus of this song on basically repeat for an hour, I really had a tough time, like, because of the way that it's produced. And like, I've learned a lot about metal production, but like those are really just supposed to be, it's white noise in the background, and sometimes it gets louder and sometimes it gets quieter, and sometimes it's ting ting ting, and sometimes it's psh psh psh, and other times it's psh psh psh,
right.
And like, I don't freaking know the names of all those things. I know
Right.
but like there's not like ride bell in that song a lot, is there?
No, but the ding symbol is, I would say, is the most, that's like definitely the most prominent to me, like that, as the ride is the dingy one, and the rest are kind of splashy and white noisy, and I don't recall those as nearly as clearly as the ride in that one. So it's possible that that's the only one that sounds good.
And yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that it really works for the production.
I mean, I'm going to be honest.
Absolutely agree.
I didn't hear a single cymbal the whole time. I was just not paying attention to that at all.
The
Sure.
bass sounds so good.
See, I did
It
not
does.
feel that.
That is my
Bass tone.
there's and that's not like a rare thing. It's not like only Overkill can have that bass tone. There's a lot of bands that have that, but that is
Right.
like my favorite bass tone.
Okay.
And like the low end, I'm sure it's one of those things where if you muted the bass, that like you'd be like, oh boy, that was doing a lot. But that tingy, dongy, metallic-y sound.
You know, those exercise things that's like, it's a handle, and then there's just like 4 or 5 springs that go across it. You just like pull it out. It's like, if you played that as a bass, that's what that sound
That's
is.
what metal bass is. And it's like slapping against like some screwdrivers. Like, yes, that's what metal bass
Exactly.
is supposed to
Yeah, when I
sound
first
like.
heard that, it threw me off a little bit. But yes, you're absolutely right. Like, that is a very common metal bass thing. I just was listening to the guitars. They were very white noisy to me at first. However, like you said, they're also very percussive, which sometimes when you have very white noisy sounding guitars, which you know what I mean when I say that, right?
I guess. Yeah.
But when you have very white noisy sounding guitars, it can have a tendency to not feel as choppy as it needs to when you're doing certain like palm muting and stuff. But I didn't get that feeling with this at all. Like, it was very clear what was happening with the guitars, and the vocals especially. Like, at first it threw me off because I was like, oh wow, I never listened to music where the vocals are sung like that ever.
Same, honestly.
Never. And once we got halfway through the song, I wasn't even thinking about it anymore. I was just like, this is how the vocals are. And so that was when
Yeah.
I was like, I could listen to this. Like, normally I would be like, I don't know if I could do that, because my initial thought is just like, wow, this is not what I like.
you couldn't do Gamma Bomb. Is that what you said? Was that you?
Yes, yeah, I was like, oh, I don't know if I
love
don't know about that
Gamma
one. But
I could have picked Gamma Bomb, but that's one of the things I could have picked that sort of does this thing.
yeah,
And I had a really tough time like finding, because what I really wanted to do was like the riff based metal thing, and where the riff is like really the big part. This one wasn't quite as riffy as what I was going for, but it sounds so good that I couldn't pass it up. But like this could have been a Slayer song that I could have, although I don't even remember what the new Slayer albums sound like the modern ones. I listened to the new Kerry King Signal today. That's great. But it
Are there
just
modern metal bands that sing this way?
Gamma Bomb. And yeah, there are. And you have to like look, and it's mostly like in the thrash stuff. That's also one of the reasons I picked this song, is because like this is very especially old school thrash metal, which is like probably my favorite, or it's the subgenre that I identify most strongly with.
see,
This band formed in 1980, and then
Nice.
like when I got into them, which was too late. But when I was, I think it was White Devil Armory was the beginning of the modern age of Overkill, and their albums, all of the new ones that they started putting out 30 years after they started being a thrash metal band as a bunch of punk ass kids in New Jersey, they just keep getting better, and they're all this aggressive. That dude's 64 years old,
That's
and he
awesome,
sings
man.
like that.
That's awesome.
love it.
So my question is, and I've been asking this since we started with Metallica, like, are there thrash metal bands like this that have like the more like aggressive vocals? Like these are aggressive.
Oh yeah.
But like
what you think of as modern metal vocals?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that are this thrashy. Oh, I'd have to think about that for a minute.
I've asked people in videos before to try to recommend for me like a band that's like this, thrashy, but that has keyboards in it, and no one has come back to me with anything.
I don't think you're gonna find that.
And one thing,
what are the keyboards gonna do in that song?
Just add well, first of all, just add like a ambiance to it and stuff. Like I don't necessarily mean keyboards like Children of Bodom, though Children of Bodom might be a good example of something that I would be.
Yeah, what is
like this? But
what did we even call Children of Bodom when that was a thing? Did we call that melodic death metal?
I think so. Yeah, melodic death metal. But whatever, I know.
That's probably the only band that you could call that I would
agree with that statement.
Bother listening to.
But yeah, but no, I don't know. I really liked not having ever listened to a singer that sings like that and enjoyed it like that. I liked the way that during the chorus, he sang, the overdub was just a very simple overdub, but the overdub was more singy. Like he was singing, and then it was almost like he hitched it into high gear in the chorus and was singing with more intensity and higher, right? Which is cool, and that's what you expect something like that to do. I mean, that is like battle music to me. That when I hear that, that's like we're going to war battle music.
Right.
Yeah, in our van with a bunch of stuff painted on the side.
Right. But like when the overdub came in, I was like, and it was more sung, I was like, oh, this I enjoy. I like that way of approaching the overdubbing of the vocals for the chorus. Made it thicker, made it feel wider, and there was more harmony there and melody and less intensity, but his main vocal was more intense. And so I liked that. And then the bridge was awesome, like with the choir vocals and that really cool slow guitar part that was just sort of like building in the back, like to be thicker. And then there was a cool guitar solo, which I do think the guitar solo folded into the guitar riff a little bit too much and wasn't necessarily loud enough in my opinion. But because I always say the guitar solo should be the same volume or close to the same volume as the lead vocals, and it definitely was not. The lead vocals were louder than the guitar solo. But I think the guitar solo was dynamic, and I think it was played in such a way that there were moments where it was playing in the same register as the riff, so that's maybe why it got lost in there a little bit.
For sure.
But I also enjoyed the whole guitar solo, so it wasn't like, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying I feel like it got a little lost, but that's like a nitpicky thing. But I've also listened to enough metal where the guitar solo is way too low, and that wasn't the case here. I just got lost a little in the shuffle of the riff. Go ahead. When you were pointing out that the riff parts, like, oh, this is the main riff underneath this and stuff, like that's something I would never be able to do because I guess I just, especially listening to a song the first time, I cannot differentiate between like riff to riff to riff.
Well, and really. that was part of the thing that I was trying to go for with this song. And believe me, I listened to a bunch of, I knew what I wanted, and like I knew I had to have an Overkill song from this record because I like this
sounds so good.
Sounds so
it does
good. And I could go into, because I really did a really weird deep dive into this mix in particular. But that's one of the big things, because my last like reference track that I was referencing off of, before I actually like beat them a lot, like I'd have been like, nah, I think that they're probably pretty similar. And what I didn't like about that other one, which is also from an album that I like, but I'm not going to mention it now because I'm going to kind of talk about how I thought it sounded really good, and then I listened harder and it doesn't.
Okay.
But that had so much low mid energy in the guitar. Like the way that the kick and snare lead this one, the other one, like that of the guitar leads it. I do like that, but like I like listening to it, and it's great that somebody else did it so I can enjoy it, but I don't want my stuff to sound like that. I want everything that I do to sound like Overkill. I want and the other one that I could have also picked for sound quality reasons, the Suffocation record that came out last year, which is Death or Tech Death. It sounds even better than this, but I didn't need one of those songs. But sure. I love the way that this sound. It's so clean, and everything does. It's weird because the mix is so dense, and a lot of that's because of the guitars. And the drums, right, like, you know what the kick and the snare is, and they are right in there, but especially the bass. Like, the bass has its own little hole in the middle. It has a little room that it lives in the center.
Yes.
That allows, and the guitars aren't on that Mook song. I got a very distinct W feeling where I had a whole lot of energy in the middle, and I had a whole bunch of energy hard left and right, and nothing between center and the sides. And this mix, the guitars do seem like they're
spread across.
They're spread across.
Yeah, I definitely got that
evenly.
feeling as well.
So,
But also his vocals really, because of the way the vocals are done, they like slice through everything. Sometimes that's harder when you have more grunts and growls and stuff. When you have the high-pitched scream like this the whole time, it allows it to sit on top of everything.
Yes.
And so that's why it makes sense to me totally why that's the style of vocal that's like the most common thrashy style of vocal, I think, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's just old school.
To me, that's like quintessential old school thrash vocals.
Yeah, so
and I
like-
think that Bobby Blitz does it better than anybody.
Yeah, so like it totally makes sense in that context. So yeah, I liked it. I thought that was interesting.
Okay.
That it was not surprising to me that you picked that. I think maybe a little surprising with the vocals because I didn't know that you enjoyed like the higher pitched stuff as much. Generally, I think of you as listening to much harsher vocals than that.
Yeah.
In the music that you like. So
No, I don't know. Like Overkill is definitely one of the
Top.
one of the favorite ones,
That's
especially when they're like this. They have no business putting out records this good when they are that old.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like I don't know how many they've made, but a bajillion records, and they're still like they're not
slowing down.
They're not slowing down. I don't know if they like. Oh, it'd be cool to see them, but like really, I'm like. You guys can just stay home. Like you're old. You don't need
just
to
keep making records.
You don't need to go play shows for 100 people in Lincoln, Nebraska, and get paid $800 to do it. Just stay home and keep making records that I like.
Awesome.
But
Chris, you were going to say something earlier. Do you remember what you were going to say?
No.
Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
Like what you had said earlier, I never listened to bands of this kind of metal that has this type of vocal specifically. Like I only know of like, I could name, Dio and, what the hell?
Iron Maiden?
Sure. That was one of them. And Halford's band that I can't remember the name of.
Judas Priest.
That's the one. Yeah. Like those, but it's like then the thought was like, that's why I asked, do any modern bands sing this way? Because the fact that this is very much of that era it's apparent. Like I just don't know of any other bands that sing like this anymore.
But like even I think that we were talking about, or Patrick and I were like there, and like I would even say that something like Municipal Waste, which was also something that was really hard for me not to pick because Municipal Waste is absolutely one of my favorite bands. Like everything that those guys are in are my favorite. I could have picked so much stuff from that group of guys from Richmond, but like Tony Forstra, like although he's not as singy and he's surely not as talented of a vocalist as Bobby is, but like that same sort of like basically clean, like pretty punk rock kind of thing. Like there are a lot of bands like that, but if you want something that's very much like that and like almost silly because those vocals are silly. Bobby Blitz's vocals are silly. But Gamma Bomb from I've said that like 50 times, but he does even sillier stuff for the sake of being silly.
So it's like a tongue-in-cheek thing almost, like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's like and you said something about fun metal.
Yeah,
and
I got that
Overkill
with this.
isn't quite that, but close.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, just the phrase like "twist the wick" or whatever is like kind of cool.
what is that? I have no idea what this song is about, which is also part of the reason
That's
I
kind
liked
of cool
it for
though,
this.
right? Like it's cool, but like, and he said it enough times and he rhymed enough things with wick that I'm like, okay, I'm like, this is kind of cool. And then yeah, I liked it. While we're talking about thrash music, real quick, I want to bring up a band I discovered the other day that I'd never heard of before, and I want to see if I'm sure you don't care about them or whatever, but. Every now and then I'll come across on eBay like one of those original album series classics where it's like 5 albums from a band all in like one set. And I saw one the other day and it said thrash. And I was like, no way would they waste their time making a thrash band set of this. Yeah. But it was a band that I'm sure you're going to say is not thrash, but it was a band called Pretty Maids.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, because I listened to it and I was like, this is very intriguing because it sounded almost like a heavier version of like Journey or Styx or something like that. But with with keyboards, but the keyboards weren't the focus. The guitars were definitely the focus. And there were definitely like heavy riffs, but we're talking like late 70s, early 80s.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. I think I know what it sounds
and
like.
the vocal
without
style was
hearing
kind of
it.
like this, but more singy, less.
Yeah.
But it was like 5 albums for $20, and I was like, this is really interesting. And the keyboards were what caught my attention because, like I said, I've been looking for it. But I think at the end of the day, they're not really considered a thrash band. And it seemed like as they went on in their career, they got less heavy. Like they were heavier at first. But their first like 3 albums, I just clicked around a little bit and listened to samples. And I was like, because Journey is a band that has always really intrigued me because I think that they were doing, when I listen to Journey, I'm impressed in ways that I wouldn't expect to be impressed by a band that's like the number one most played like song on a jukebox in a bar. You know what I mean? Like I really do think that they had a lot of really cool songs with a lot of really neat ideas in them and some really cool heavy stuff. Like Separate Ways, Worlds Apart is one of my all-time favorite songs. Definitely one of my favorite 80s songs. And I think that that's actually kind of like a cool heavy riff in that song. Which that's the someday love will find you. Dun 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 dun, right? With the sweetest.
I think you're heavying that up a little bit, but yeah.
Well, with the
But
sweetest.
it is kind of, and like
For what they were at the time too, because you have to think about like they are a piano-based band, right? They
wow.
Well, everything I've ever heard from them, right? All their music is piano based. Maybe I guess I haven't heard any of their early stuff.
I mean, I've never listened
don't
to
know
a
a lot of
Journey
their stuff
album.
either.
I mean, I know the hits. Like
sorry,
everybody.
we're getting way off topic, but I heard this Pretty Maids thing, and it said thrash in the description, and my first thought was like, wow, this is like thrash and Journey put together. And that's something that I think would appeal to me a lot. And I tried listening to a little bit of one of their albums, and I fell asleep while I was listening to it, but it was late at night. But I don't know. So if anyone watching this, you're like a Metallica fan, you've been following the channel, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess Patrick might like Pretty Maids. Let me know in the comments. But also let me know any other bands that you think, if you can think of a thrash metal band like Overkill that has keyboards and stuff in it, let me know. And because I've told you
I just don't know why. I mean, I get why you want that, but like, I don't get why
they would make it.
Well, I don't know what it would, because like even in Children of Bodom, the keyboards are either playing a very background role, or they're playing a foreground role in a slow part, or I don't know the guy's name that played keyboards in Children of Bodom, but dude freaking shredded.
Ravi.
And like playing like guitar solos
right.
with a keyboard, which is pretty unique.
Yeah.
I think the way that he did it, and I mean
For sure.
that he harmonized with Alexi and like everything.
But I think you just explained it. All of those things you just said are appealing
there
to
aren't
me.
really. I guess like okay. I guess like in the bridge part of that Overkill song, like I guess I could see how you could like shoehorn some synth stuff in there.
Yeah, but you can just play chords, man. Like let synth pads
But
exist under
for
a song.
75% of the song, like. Yeah,
it's just I'm thinking like an ambient type of thing, like in the background of everything, and then every now and then stabs, every now and then some like a bell part.
See,
whatever.
I should have just told you there were keyboards in that Overkill song and just like listen to you either listen or talk about how good you thought they sounded.
But anyway, it doesn't matter, and I'm not saying that like that would be a requirement for me. I just want to hear a band like that because like Nightwish has thrashy riffs every now and then, but like that's clearly not the focal point of their band at all. But like there are moments where they do really cool things where there's a thrash metal riff with a lot of things over the top of it. And I'm not necessarily saying I have to have that, but like if there's a band that's like this with a keyboard player that's as invested as the guitar player is, I think that could be really cool. I'm not necessarily saying what I think it would sound like, but
I don't think no matter how that manifested itself, I don't think that
it would lose the spirit of thrash.
I don't think anybody would call it, and maybe that would be what it is, but I don't think anybody would call it.
Because I mean, that's kind of like to me when I hear vocals like this, I think power metal. That's what I think.
But that is absolutely.
But power metal is like symphonic
Sabaton.
metal. Yeah. Well, no, not Sabaton.
Sabaton is absolutely.
Sabaton is
I
not
think
power
that,
metal.
What?
No.
I'm
no.
pretty
like
sure.
we're getting-
No.
We're getting way off. Pick the next song.
We do
Sonata
have 7
Arctica
songs
is-
left to do.
Sonata Arctica.
Sabaton
is
sucks anyway.
I love Sonata Arctica.
Yeah. They have a new album coming out this year.
Sabaton?
Sonata Arctica.
Oh, whatever. Okay, pick another one.
I pick one.
Okay.
All right, Chris, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, I'm not gonna look.
I don't even. I think. Well, I have it narrowed down to 2 because of the length.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. I love whatever this is so far. Wait, is this Olivia Rodrigo?
Of course, it's Olivia Rodrigo.
I'm looking. I have never heard anything that she's done. I'm excited about.
This is off the new record. The one that came out last year.
It's not off of the one we listened to.
No.
Listen to those drums.
So stereo.
Oh yeah. Love it.
She said the word God 3 times so far in this song.
I think only once.
Care about something else.
Yeah, very different context.
Oh, we missed a line.
Back it up.
No.
They put a big reverby clap song, like every 4 bars on the 2 snare hits.
Love
And then it
that.
goes away.
Love it.
Very 80s. Yep, now that you said that, that's my favorite part of the song. Dude, that's so Paramore. Love it.
Oh sure.
It is. I'm going to do a little different way, but...
Is this whole song chorus?
Yeah, right?
I love the intensity of the drums,
Yeah.
especially because of how many ballads she had on the first album.
Yes. I kind of forgot how that's
Bam.
going. Right, and it makes you, because it should go to another chorus, and then it doesn't. Yeah, so the Paramore thing was interesting because that's kind of one of the things. I mean, I just love Olivia Rodrigo, and I could have picked almost any song from this record, and I did go through most of the rocking ones. I did not like Lacey, obviously. I wasn't going to pick for this. I wanted to pick a rocking one, partially because she didn't do that hardly at all on the first record.
Right.
The first song kind of does. And we listened to 2 of the other ones. We listened to Vampire and we listened to Bad Idea, right?
Yep, and those are both pretty rockin' songs.
Yep.
In different ways.
But this one I thought was interesting, and one of the commenters, who is surely not watching this video because I know that you just watched to watch us talk about Olivia Rodrigo, when we did it, like said, I really want you guys to listen to all of Guts because it's like way more pop rock. And I do love pop rock music. I really do. I always have, especially the 90s stuff. And like this sounds like so much like 90s girl pop rock.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really, and like, I mean, that's a rock song. Musically, that's a rock song.
Yep.
And then it's like by like, you know, what is it? It's like Taylor, Beyonce, and then maybe a couple other people, and then Olivia is like up in that. I didn't realize that she was that popular because I really wanted to buy concert tickets, and then I realized way too late that that's one of those things where you have to go sign up on a list to even get invited to buy tickets, and then like you still might not get them. But
Wow.
she's gonna be in Omaha.
She's that
this spring.
popular. Yeah.
It's like all of them now, where like, you know, like the Taylor Swift thing, like where you just don't get tickets.
Yeah, which is insane to me, but yeah. Yeah,
I thought it was great.
That song to me, lyrically, that is exactly why I'm fine never listening to her again.
Okay.
She said God 3 times.
In very different contexts, and putting words in front and behind that don't belong there. So, so that to me, you know, that Vampire song, the first time I heard it, without the with the actual words in there that she actually says, I was like, I think I'm good. I think I'm good on this lady. Huh. But I loved the drums the moment they started, because there was this interest. They were very stereo, and they were spread very wide.
And like even it just the stereo effect that's on them.
Yeah,
because
for
it's
sure.
not
Yes.
true
No,
stereo.
not. It's definitely like it was definitely an effect, and it was definitely like a stylized thing, and I loved it the whole time. That was great, and she did stuff like that on the previous album as well, where it was very stylized production-wise to sound a very specific way, and then it kind of just stayed that way the whole song. And that song had a character of its own because of the way the drums sounded or whatever was the special element in that. And when we listened to the first album with Driver's License and everything on it, the thing that shocked me was how many ballads there were and how great that was.
It's like all ballads.
It is. And so now, having heard 3 of the however many songs are on this album, and having them all be a different style of more up-tempo thing, it does make me curious, like what the ballads sound like on that album too, because I'm sure she had to have 2 or 3 of them on there because that's what she's known for from her first album. But maybe now she's a bit more of like a rocker, popper.
Yeah,
she only have the 2 albums.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that I don't really know again because like I really like the music, I really like these 2 records, but I'm like not into all the High School Musical shit. But like I bet I wouldn't be surprised if she did some of those songs. Like what else was she gonna do after the first record? I think that she was playing arenas, and what are you gonna do? You're gonna play the entire album and that's it, and the whole thing was probably only 45 or 50 minutes long.
Yeah,
like you had to do something else.
I'm sure she does covers of things and whatnot, but yeah. And the thing is, when you make an album that's mostly ballads, you want to have on your next album, you want to, I assume, have mostly up-tempo songs so that you can have a variety of stuff in your set.
And so many of them are freaking bangers.
Even the ballads were phenomenal on the last album.
But sure, the drums sound great and whatever was playing chords, but like, boy, talk about that Overkill mix being dense. But this is totally dense too. You can't.
And her vocals
pick
were like
anything.
distorted the whole time too.
Yeah.
So like it was a very specific choices were made to make the song sound a specific way, and I do like all the sonic choices that they made.
I mean, you should, because it's like costs more than anything. Like, I mean, that's like all the best crap that money can buy is put onto a record like that.
Yeah. So, Chris, that being your first time really listening to Olivia Rodrigo, what's your thought there?
I think that fits in really well with a lot of other stuff that I like. I've wondered about her for a long time. Ever since you started talking about her, I've never actually attempted to listen to any of it. So
I've always had a thing. I like and if I'm gonna pick all the other things I could have picked, I mean, this is way more rocking, but I've always liked female pop music.
Dude,
I mean,
same.
It could have been.
Me too.
It could have been Britney or maybe Christina or Mandy Moore. Oh my God, Mandy Moore. But that was only very short lived. I've not listened. I listened to that one Mandy Moore record, the white one, so many times.
She just came out with their first new album a couple years ago.
It's probably trash.
It is.
or whatever.
But do you know what happened to her? Like her legal issues and all that stuff?
No.
Oh yeah, the guy that was in charge of her music like totally ruined her entire musical career, and she couldn't make music for like 10, 15 years.
That happened to a lot of people. I mean,
it's like a crazy
totally what
story.
happened to Britney, and like kind of what happened to Kesha. It could have been so many different things, but also like
Kesha,
it's sort of that.
Ugh.
Oh, you're just so wrong.
No, Kesha.
You got some problem with Kesha?
I do. I don't like Kesha. My line only extends so far. But hey, I like all sorts of stuff that probably sounds very similar to that. So
yeah, I could go on, but I won't.
Okay,
next song.
It could have been a bajillion other things, but it was that, and it was because of like the '90s rock song, and it was also because of the female pop thing. That one, like it sounds good, and of course it like has to, but like I don't love that. I don't love the sound of that as much as I do the Overkill thing.
Oh sure.
But like, I mean, like I know it's guitars and synthesizers that are playing all the chords on the sides, but like, is there a bass in that song? Did you hear a bass the whole time we listened to that?
There's something in there.
There has to be something providing low frequency, but I don't know what the heck it is.
Yeah,
but true. That record has some crazy synthesizer stuff. And in fact, I was listening to these songs with the unnamed files the other day, and I didn't have the metadata up. I thought that this song, the Olivia Rodrigo song, was a different song that I had chosen that's from a way weirder, more obscure artist. Because like with those distorted drums that start the thing off, I'm like, oh, that's not Olivia Rodrigo, and I would go to the next thing. And I named a track wrong because of that. But
That's interesting.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, pick another one.
Okay, all right. Well, we've done
1 and 3.
1 and 3, so let's go ahead and do 4 and we'll save 2 for last.
Okay.
All right, Chris, you ready for 4?
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1. I am so intrigued right now because this could be The Prodigy. This could be.
Oh, it does kind of sound like The Prodigy, doesn't it? Yeah. This is so compressed. I looked at the waveform for this song. It is just a brick the
I was
whole
gonna say
time.
this is a sausage, but I'm otherwise love it.
so much bass.
I showed up to the party in my favorite coat. On the back was an image of a shrimp on a boat.
Guy 10 foot from the
When you saw
microphone.
what I was wearing, you got real upset and said, "That's the jacket that I got from my grandma." Oh, well, I promise I had seen you before. And maybe your
Dude, these
grandma
sounds are
had
crazy.
more. And maybe I helped her at the grocery store, and she gave it to me.
This is so you. Oh my God.
I went out on the porch to light a cigarette. I had 6 or 7 lighters in my left pocket. I took out the one that said Shrimp City Beach 1993. And you told me that's where you had your birthday party and that the lighters were given as gifts. But I was there too, just dipping my toes down on the beach, man. And I had that lighter specifically made for me, motherfucker. Look, I ain't no thief. I ain't no thief. I said I ain't no thief.
To that bass line.
This bass line is just ripping it, man. I hate so much about this, but I love this bass line.
We just got the same stuff. We just happen to have the same stuff, motherfucker.
We just have the same stuff. I zoned out for a minute, so now I'm like putting the lyrics together after the fact. I ain't no thief, we just have the same stuff. That's fantastic.
There is Rob Zombie in this.
Oh, yeah, kind of, huh?
I said I ain't no thief.
I have something to say about this that is very similar to something I said about Lulu, but I'll keep it till we're done.
I love the danciness of it.
Yeah, big time.
It totally contradicts the vocals. Dude, the industrial sounds are so cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's real.
That's so cool.
Like, I mean, obviously it's like super, like, and that could totally be real guitar or bass, right? Like just through crazy distortion fuzz.
so
pedal
let's see
stuff.
what that was.
Viagra Boys Ain't No Thief. That's from their.
You've told me to listen to Viagra Boys before.
And so the song that like a lot of people know is Sports, which is not off of this record. That's off their record. I think the one before that. And like, again, like I read a little bit about these guys, like all of their music I really like, but this last record that came out in 2022 is called Cave World. And I had to
That's the 2022 song?
Yeah.
That's
but I didn't even
Because that
think
sounded like it could have been from the 90s.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And like, I mean, I've
Which is
been
interesting.
exposed as like I'm not even quite old enough, but my musical taste is very much grounded in the 90s.
You have a flannel shirt on.
Oh my God.
I was going to say,
but
before
like,
I forget.
Nirvana can.
Right. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Incorrect.
That's fine. You're
That
wrong.
That second verse specifically was like a drunk person called and yelled what they thought into someone's voicemail, and then they just took it and put this dancing ass beat underneath of it.
But like, right, this. I'm glad that you got this. That a big part of the reason I picked this song, because there's other songs off that album. I thought about Punk Rock Loser or Troglodyte from this record. That again, I narrowed it down to this record, and I had to pick what song. But one of the things that I liked about this, and right, I am also not a lyrics guy, like, but when I do really like lyrics like this, these are funny, but also it tells an unbelievably specific story, and those super ridiculous specific details that are in this, like, you know, from Shrimp City Beach 1993. Like, why do you have a lighter that is still working in 2022 that was made in 1993? That is impractical, sir.
And I'm listening to it, and I'm like,
well done.
I'm like, does this rhyme? And then I was kind of like, it does kind of rhyme.
Sometimes
like,
it kind of does.
rhyme, and I'm like, I like that.
And that's
Props
an
to that.
interesting thing that you brought up too, because one of my favorite bands of all time is NoFX, and Fat Mike also does the super specific story thing, often about people that he knows, but then also that like doing two rhymes where you expect a third and then don't do it the third time, and like there's a great song by NoFX. I think it's don't, or please play this song on the radio, where he sets this thing up, and so it's like time and chime, and the last one should be rhyme, but he breaks it and says rim instead, where the word rhyme should go to break it. But like,
well, that's the whole point of punk music, right? Is to sort of break your expectations.
and like, this is like, I don't like, other than it sounds kind of like electronic music, I didn't even think, because it does sound, especially with that like cocked wah sound that's at the beginning, it sounds just like that Prodigy song.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about this, because I'm like, that was unexpected in a way, but like the moment everything got going, I was like, this is like Chris Schoenberg, the person in song form.
I've listened to this album straight through,
because
more
you
times
are
than
absolutely
anything in the
like
last
a
2
goofy
years.
goof that just like is like a hardcore goof, like dancey.
And all the songs aren't this dancey. This one's super dancey.
Right, and that was the bass line was just thick and awesome.
It was awesome.
I liked that.
And like, what are the sound? It's kind of like, I guess that's sort of a thing now.
What is the sound?
Like the Olivia Rodrigo song is similar though.
Yeah.
Like, I like know it's a bunch of distorted stuff, but like, also that is going. Now that we've listened to 3, the fourth one is a metal song. So like, I guess that one thing that I like is distortion, because everything that I've picked was like crushed.
Yeah.
Like,
which is interesting, because you do talk about over compression a lot, which that song, I don't know if I would feel that it was over compressed.
Sometimes I've listened to it and be like, I don't even know how I like this so much, because it's so bad.
Well,
but
sometimes
today it didn't bother me.
Sometimes like, I don't hear the over compression the same way you do, and you're very sensitive to it, I think, in ways I'm not. But other times we just are really in sync with what we're like, oh, wow, that was really bad or whatever. And so it's interesting. But to me, something like this that is so stylistic in a very specific way that's also not specific is, I don't know, like the industrialness of that was one of the more intriguing things to me. Like the idea of looping that noise or whatever the noise is, whether they were looped or just played or whatever the sound source was, is so intriguing. And like I said, there was like Rob Zombie-ness to some of that because it was dancey, but at the same time, there's a lot of industrial stuff.
Dancey and industrial, yeah.
Yeah, but then the vocals were like so different, a different approach to how to do vocals. And the first thing I said was, it sounds like he's standing 10 feet away from the microphone.
Yeah.
You know, it just really sounded, but would the song have the same feeling if it was close mic? Do you know what I mean? Like,
No.
Like that added to the atmosphere, what the song was
There
trying to
was a whole
accomplish.
vibe there, big time.
Yeah.
And the vocals are distorted as crap too, right?
Yeah.
And like I think that's why it's not until now that I've really thought about how they did that. But yeah, it's probably distance mic'd, and then they ran it through distortion. And so a lot of what you're hearing the room, because distortion is compression, you're hearing the room more because it's so compressed.
Yeah.
And it's weird. And like,
There is only one way to make something sound like you're far away from a microphone, and it's to be far away from a microphone.
for sure.
Yeah.
And oh man,
That was really interesting to listen to. Yeah.
It was fun. I told a friend of mine recently, her taste in music is, we did this thing where we just like sat around and we built a group Spotify sort of queue, and then we just all added songs to it, and then it just played something that somebody picked, and we would talk about it every time as it went through. And she has a real love of like it's sort of like satanic doo-wop kind of stuff. Or it just, and I was like, I hate everything that you like, but
like
it
what
sounds,
what is
but,
it a
but,
bit, what is an artist example of what you just described? Because that is what I will be listening to on my way home.
I actually ran
Twin Temple. Twin Temple is the best example I have of
Twin
that.
Temple, okay.
I literally looked up an album of theirs the other day on Spotify. It was recommended to me. That is so weird that you bring that up, like satanic.
Isn't that
doo-wop.
weird?
How weird is that? Oh,
I know it.
That's weird.
Well, and it's funny because I told her, I was like, I hate everything that you like, but if I walked into some sort of like a bar or a record store and I heard your playlist playing, I'd be like, this place is the cool place to be. And this song is one of the ones that goes on that list. Like I did like elements of this. Ultimately, it's not a song that I would ever want to listen to, but if I went somewhere and I heard it, I'd be like, this place rips.
That's a great way to explain it, because I agree with that sentiment 100%. It was unique in ways that a lot of music is not unique. So, like, yeah, it was just the things, the different elements that were put together. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say about that. That's really interesting. But it's so
Onward.
funny. It's so funny to me that, like I said, listening to that, I'm just like, wow, this is such a Chris Schoenberg thing, you know? So, and I love that. I love that. All right. So on to the last song here we have from you, which is
4.
4.
No, 2.
2.
Pretty
2.
sure it's 2.
I'm pretty sure it's 2.
I'm pretty sure it's 2.
Yeah, because I did 3, 1, 4, 2, which is probably predictable. All right, let's just go ahead and listen to it.
Sweet.
This is Chris Schoenberg.
Oh, we didn't count down.
Is this Death Clock?
No, but it kind of sounds like it. If Death Clock was good, this is what Death Clock would sound like.
Death Clock's not good.
Not like this. But it does sound a lot like Death Clock.
Dude, listen to this guy rip with his vocals.
Does sound like that.
Chris Parker is hating this.
There are things I hate more than this, but I would never reach for this.
Ooh, that's cool.
You didn't count down, so I have no idea where you're at.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm stupid.
It's all right. We've never done this before. Ooh, that was cool.
I might have sounded like I don't love Death Clock, and I absolutely do love Death Clock, but Arch Spires.
Such a different approach to metal than the
Listen how
Overkill.
lame that snare sound is.
But it works.
The toms sound better than the snare. It does work. It absolutely works.
Ooh, that was deep. Let's pick low hit. Very Joe Satriani guitar solos.
Oh, kinda, yeah.
The vocals are blowing me away.
He's so fast.
Uh-oh, Chris, the song's gonna change in a second. You have mentioned Archspire to me so many times.
I know, that's
and
part of
this
why
is,
I
I
had to
think,
do
the
it.
first song of theirs I've heard. This is...
Ah, the intermission.
Dude, the guitar sounds so fat. So thick. That sounds like a guitar part you would write. That high part.
Oh, I wish I could. Thank you.
That's why the snare sounds like that for this part.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That little double run was very Protest the Hero.
Yes, very cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there is some guitar stuff that's kind of like Protest the Hero.
Do you like Knocked Loose? Are they a band you like?
Yeah, I'm like not like a knocked loose guy, but every once in a while I have to go listen to laugh tracks.
I just but wow. Okay, is yours over, Chris?
Yep, just finished.
Just, huh?
Yeah, so that was the first song that I heard from Archspire, and I didn't know what it was. And
Was it all downhill from there?
It
I
made
mean,
me immensely happy, and that makes it makes my stomach go into butterflies when I hear it. It's so intense.
it is. Holy crap!
The double. I mean, the first time I heard it, like the double bass is, and it's like, is that real? Like, I don't know how, and like it is real, but yeah. So I had to pick a thrash metal song, and I thought I really had to pick a technical death metal song. And I'm not like a huge tech death fan, just because I don't know that much about it. But like I don't even know, is suffocation tech death? So the metal guys can come after me. But I really like I really like Psychroptic, and I really like Archspire.
We listened to a Psychroptic song earlier this year, and I just never released the reaction.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we did that, and I just never had
What
it.
I have picked.
I don't remember, but that was really interesting. Yeah, that is a style of metal that I wouldn't listen to. Like the only thing I could compare it to was Death Clock.
And it does, and dude, unfortunately, Brendan Small doesn't sound like that with his vocals anymore. But like there is a lot of Death Clock stuff in there, because like the Death Clock that you're thinking of, like Brendan Small and this guy whose name I can't remember right now, do sound a lot alike. And there's a bunch of guitar stuff that Death Clock does too. Like there was one little like lead thing that just pops up like over kind of center left, and then it's gone, and like that was just it. And like that's a super Death Clocky thing.
Yeah.
But Death Clock, I mean, even with Gene Hoglan playing drums, like there isn't stuff like that.
Well, I mean, this was like, yeah.
The whole,
because when you say tech death, I don't even know if I would know what that is really.
It's this.
But this is when
like
I heard this, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And it's also interesting too, because I did hear a lot, like I mentioned, if that one part sounded like a guitar part to me that you would write. Like to me, this doesn't sound anything like the bands that we have worked on before. That really, but also there are elements to it where I'm like, okay, I can see why Chris would like this based on the music that you guys write. And that's interesting to think about, because there are parts of it that, and you do things vocally too that I feel like you could do this type of thing.
I'd run out of breath.
I don't know if you could do it that fast.
That fast stuff is so fast.
But like, yeah, I don't know.
And there's other songs that showcase his. And this is not their latest album. Their latest album, I think, sounds better. It's just cleaner because like the drums work on this.
Yes.
But the snare drum is cheesy, and I'm picking apart this thing that I do really, really like a lot. I love that song. But like that blast beat part when you said, oh, the snare drum sounds like this because of this blast beat part that it's on.
Yeah.
And like when you're doing that super death metal thing, you have to have the snare drum sound like that or worse or ringier, mid-rangier, grosser.
Yeah.
To do that correctly. But like that's really no excuse for the snare drum not to sound different when it's not doing blast beats. Right. And like, I don't know.
Unless they're just like totally like the drums are what they are.
And like the drum sounds are good.
I thought it
like
sounded
they
good.
are passable, but like when you hear
the kick was very metallic sounding, like
but
literally
it has to.
But
be.
you're right. That was the sound that, like everything sounded the way it needed to sound.
If you did that with that Southern song bass drum that was on there, it just boom.
Yeah, it wouldn't be anything.
It wouldn't
100%.
sound. You couldn't hear the hits.
100%. How did you feel about that, Chris?
I mean, obviously, there's plenty of musical overlap with things that I like. The vocal style is the thing that would just make it never be something that I was like, I want to go listen to this thing. But I'm a melody nut, so it just doesn't have that. As far as I know,
it's in the guitars and the slow part. That's where you get
which that was a really interesting.
I did love the slow part.
Yeah,
that was great.
I wasn't expecting that in a very intense song like that. Do they do that a lot? Have like bridges or a breakdown part like that?
Yep,
That's really cool.
And that's sort of their thing on their. God, I'm so basic because I listen to like the popular ones a lot.
How long have they been a band?
Maybe 10 years. I don't
Okay, so they're still relatively.
I'm not going to mess with that because I have a band that I'm going to listen on the way home pulled up right now. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I could have picked the one that sounded better, but that one like had like I freaked out when I first heard that. I had no idea what it was. I don't even remember who suggested it to me or where I found out about it, but I put it on. I was at this place I was working. There was a couple other people around and me and one other dude who's in the kind of the same stuff, just like obviously not tech death fans because that's not going to blow away someone who listens to a lot of technical death metal, but I had not really heard stuff that was that intense. And I guess necrophagist or that other kind of stuff that I was aware of, but this is just different. It's just so much more intense. I
liked it, honestly. Like I would not mind listening to that again. I think it's another case, almost like when we were talking earlier when we were listening to a little Polyphia. I don't know if I could listen to a whole album of just that, but listening to that song was badass and cool. And if they changed it up enough and had like slower songs, then I think I could do.
Yeah, and I guess that's a thing too. Like I don't know that. So, yeah, when's the last time I listened to a whole Archby record? It's been a while because most of the time I just need to like get that feeling, and in 5 minutes I'm good. Right.
But, and that's maybe what it's more for. I mean, you wouldn't have a 60-minute album of this. This band, I'm assuming, makes albums that are 30 minutes long.
I'm not looking it up.
Oh, okay.
They're longer than you would think. They're longer than Slayer records. I mean, that song was 5. No, it wasn't. It was under 4 minutes. It was 3:38, I think. Anyway. Okay, those are the ones that I picked.
All right. My turn.
I'm glad I got to show Chris Parker some stuff he hasn't heard
well,
before.
let's end the video. So thank you very much for watching. This has been part 2. We have part 1 already recorded. We're going to record part 3 up next, and that's going to be Chris Parker's songs. So we're just going to go and record that right now. Thank you very much for watching. Look out for the other parts of this series, and then I promise we'll get to some more Metallica after that. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.